All right, everyone, welcome back. We are continuing our conversation with argument, debate, claims, all that fun stuff, and we're gearing up for our debates that we're going to be having across our classrooms. We're still working with the same standard, but we're going to talk about fallacies and persuasive techniques today. Now, we've kind of simplified this a little bit, and we might get a little deeper as we go farther into this, but these are kind of like your essentials that you really need to know in order to be successful as we start gearing up for our debates next week. So hopefully you've already got this printout ready and you're gonna look at it, but if not, you can look at it up here and get it later. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves that argument is any form of media that takes a stance on something, anything that makes a claim. So this literally broadens up to anything like we talked about last week. It could be a poem, it could be a story, it could be a picture, it could be anything. Remember, argument is not always just a form of debate, but now we're really going to start going into kind of the what makes a debate and what you should do and what you should kind of avoid if you want people to take what you're saying seriously. So let's talk about fallacies first, because fallacies are really interesting. There's something that if you ever take like a rhetoric class in college, or if you ever study debate or anything like that, you are going to come across fallacies, and people might even point out fallacies in your own thinking. And the best way to describe a fallacy for us is really a fallacy is an error in logic, meaning it's something that kind of sounds correct, but if you analyze it a little bit farther, you realize that it's not really correct at all. And fallacies are really common in arguments where people don't understand what they're actually talking about. So that is usually an error built upon ignorance of a topic or something like that. But also intelligent people make fallacies all the time. If you ever watch a political debate, for instance, fallacies galore, and they're some very educated people. So it's not that you shouldn't make fallacies because you are going to. It's that you should try to avoid them when you're thinking about your argument, when you're preparing kind of what you want to say. So we're going to look at these one by one, and then we're going to kind of break them down based on an example. Now, if you're in the class, you see that these links right there, there's some wonderful links that you can click on in order to kind of get to a video representation, but I'm going to try to give you an example on my own to see how well we can learn these just here on this video. So straw man's very popular. It's probably the most popular fallacies out there because it's how people think they win a debate when in reality they're not attacking someone's position in the first place. So a straw man is when you misrepresent someone's point in order to argue against an easier point. Now, this is usually done out of habit. I don't think a lot of people set out to create straw men. I think it happens when people don't understand the person that they're debating or the point that they're making. So here's an example. I believe that if we had electric cars, that we could begin making progress on the massive pollution in our air. This person really thinks that if we get electric cars, the whole world's going to be a nicer place. See the straw man. The whole idea of this is that you misrepresent the argument to create something that you think is a better win. Now, let's go to ad hominem. Ad hominem is a super popular fallacy because this is what people resort to usually when they don't have facts on their side. Shockingly, popular in middle school. Boom! Mic drop. It's when you decide to attack a person rather than their points. Here's an example. I really think people should just eat more fruits so they can be healthier. I literally saw you eat a piece of cake 5 minutes ago. You see, ad hominem doesn't address the point, doesn't matter. They attack the person rather than the actual piece of evidence. Big no-no. False dilemma is another really popular one. This one's really popular for like you're trying to persuade someone to do something, but it's when you kind of give two options only of possibilities of what could happen based on a decision. Here's an example. You are either for gun control or against gun control. There's no in between. You see, this is a false dilemma because that's just not true. There's all kinds of gray area. There's different laws that people want. There's all kinds of things that could be a part of that conversation. It's not a black and white issue. However, if you listen to the news or just talk to your average Joe, most of the time people talk about it as if it is a black and white issue, and that is why so many people are using this type of fallacy. Last one is slippery slope, which is hilarious because it's when you claim that if something happens, a bunch of other stuff's going to happen. So think of it as a slippery slope. Once you slip, you just keep slipping all the way down. Here's an example. If you stop playing Fortnite, you're going to start losing games. And once you start losing games, you're going to lose all of your friends. And then once you lose all of your friends, your parents are going to kick you out of their house. And once you leave your house, they're not going to let you live in the United States anymore. You see, now that's an extreme example, but you get my point. It is when we say something's going to happen and then a bunch of other stuff's going to happen, when really we can't really predict very far into the future at all accurately. So those are your fallacies, and those really will come into play when you are responding to people next week. But right here, when you have these persuasive techniques, these are just kind of ways to enhance your argument. Now, for the sake of this video, we're actually not going to talk about these because I think these are pretty straightforward for you. But one thing I want to say on these persuasive techniques is that these only work if they are backed by evidence and facts. That also keeps you away from using fallacies, is if when you're debating, you actually rely on information, facts, and something that you can point to, such as evidence. You want those when you're having any type of debate with somebody. You don't want to rely too much on any of these without evidence. So even though this top one is an appeal to emotion, where you're trying to appeal to someone's emotions, such as saying schools should have better food because kids deserve it, which is a nice appeal to emotion, you also want to back that up with some type of evidence. Why is the food currently not good? Why, or something like that. Another great example of this is in repetition. It's not enough to just say something over and over again. You want to say something with evidence and with conviction and with facts, because that is what's going to elevate everything. So even if you avoid these and use these, you still want to use facts, evidence to get someone's attention, but really to persuade them to agree with you, or to show an audience why they should agree with you in the form of a debate. With that said, I want you to go out and find an example of one of these in the real world. I want you, if you can find some fallacies, a great place to look if you want to find something, go watch political debates, watch arguments on the news, watch any of that stuff. There are fallacies galore that you can find out in the world. So go find a real one. If you can find an article or something like that, that's a great place to look as well. If you're having trouble, go ahead and just Google these and look for examples. And then the same thing for the persuasive techniques. Go find them. I want you to find one example of each and then turn that in through the Google Classroom for us. Make sure to explain what's happening in there. Make sure to explain your understanding of those. If you have questions, as always, go down, send a direct message to me, ask me in conferencing. That's what we're going to be talking about. You guys have been doing great with your writing, so keep that up. Remember, you need to share your writing with me through Google Docs so I can actually see it and track your progress. Don't worry about it being finished, because we don't have our portfolios with us. They're trapped at the campus. So just share it with me. And then once we've decided it's done, it's done. But make sure to share it with me, even if it's just a work in progress, even if you just have a sentence. That way I can see it every time you change it, all that stuff. Anytime you make a big change, go ahead and just reshare it so it pops up to the beginning of my list, because a bunch of people are sharing their writing with me. Get your work done. Everything is due on Sunday night at midnight. So make sure you get all this done. Let me know. We're going to continue this conversation. Make sure to fill out the survey in the classwork documents so we can find out what topics we're going to debate. And then we're going to have some Chastain, Bannister, Conglomerate, everyone in there debating each other. Should be a lot of fun. All right. Peace out, guys.